Welcome to the third Leadership Summit at IIM Raipur based on the theme Future is Now. My name is Fahmi Madgal from Media and PR Committee, and today I have with me an esteemed guest, Mr. Supriyo Sinha, CEO, Education, Pratibha at ABP Private Ltd. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
So, how was your experience at IIM Raipur so far?
Brilliant so far. I was just talking to Suyash on how this has grown over the last 10 years. This is 10th year, right?
Yes, sir.
It's the 10th batch. And so very nice. You have your own campus. It's a little bit, I can see it's work in progress, but I'm sure
Yes,
it's work in progress in the right direction.
Yes, sir. It's definitely is. So, I would like to ask you, you have an excellent alma mater. You have been to IIT Kharagpur, you have been to IMC, then you went on to study in Harvard. So your learning curve is quite high. You definitely want to adapt according to the environment. You have the zeal to learn. So what drives that, basically?
Yeah, I think two things. One is when you're out of touch from learning for a while, at least I personally feel a little bit itchy because life is changing all the time, new things are happening, and you need to keep yourself attuned. And the best way to do that is go study for a while. And you can't properly actually study while doing work. So if you have to study, you just go out, take some time. And the other is a little bit philosophical. You just have one life.
Right.
And you try to maximize as much as you can.
Sure, sir. So, you have also won the best new venture in Asia Pacific region in 2019. So I congratulate you, sir,
Thank
for
you.
that.
Thank you so much.
So what drove you? What were the parameters and how did you make it possible to win that particular competition?
So I don't know how we won it, but I'll tell you what we have done.
Exactly.
So this is a new venture I'm doing in the education space, but it's very different from the traditional education that you think of when you hear the word education. There's actually a digital platform, e-learning, but it is focused on co-curricular talent. So today you have a Byju's, which is taking the physics, chemistry, maths, biology, all of that onto a digital platform. What I'm doing is to create a digital platform which will eventually have lessons on creativity, communication, public speaking, maybe someday music, dance, drama, etc. All the things that are on the co-curricular side.
All right.
And something like this actually doesn't exist, especially on these topics. So I think, in retrospect, some of the things that helped us win it, one, which the judges also told me, was just the uniqueness of
the idea.
Because something like this doesn't exist. And second is related to that, it is also very universally applicable. So there is nothing India about it, or there is nothing Raipur about it, there's nothing Calcutta about it. If you want to learn art, if you want to do portraits, etc., anybody anywhere can do it.
Right.
So, and we've also done a bunch of national and international tie-ups and partnerships to extend the proposition. So I guess hopefully, probably a mix of these things helped us.
All right, sir. So one more question I would like to ask, that you have also been, you also advise a lot of entrepreneurs and startups that how they should function. So basically the problem with startup is that most of the startups, 50% of the startups generally initially take off, but then they fail to land on a proper landscape. So what are the factors which you think that an budding entrepreneur should inculcate in order to averse the risk?
So this is a little bit of what I'm going to talk about today as well. But at the highest level, I think there are 3-4 important risks to manage. The number one is the risk of no need. So research says the single biggest reason why entrepreneurs fail, startups fail, is that the idea never had a need. So I may have a great idea. I may think this the world's best idea, but actually in the marketplace, the consumer does not need it.
Right.
So number one is to figure out and realize, is there a need in the first place? If not, quickly course correct, either ditch or move it to another direction. And the second, I personally think, is the risk of talent. It's very difficult to find people to build up in your team who will not only have the skill and the will, which are the two traditional metrics of getting somebody on your team, but in a startup situation, the other important factor becomes the passion. If people in your team do not share the passion that you have, it becomes very difficult.
Right.
So the top two would be these two, I think. Even as I speak to a bunch of people, a lot of people are struggling with these two questions,
All right.
including myself.
So based on what you have said, like you said that consumer behavior is changing. So sir, this world is very dynamic, and because of technology and globalization, the consumer behavior has become more and more dynamic. Like things are changing faster than the company can adapt.
Yeah.
So what do you think that a company's approach should be in order to adapt to this ever-changing environment?
So I think there's nothing, it's probably a cliche, but there's nothing better than listening to the consumer all the time. And that's sometimes the consumer may give you very tough and bad feedback, but you have to have the courage to take it in the right spirit, because otherwise you're fooling yourself. That's number one. And number two is I think using technology as it evolves. Technology is evolving very, very rapidly. The way you reach out to consumers, the way you engage consumers, the way you modify your proposition for consumers, it's evolving every day. And the question will be, how quickly can you adapt that technology to stay close to the consumer?
Yes. So one last question. Since you have been a management consultant at McKinsey, so this question is for all the people who who are aspiring to be consultants. So what are your thoughts that how they should approach, like when they are getting ready for the corporate, what should be the things that they should focus?
So I don't know whether the answer will disappoint you, but honestly, when you're in B school and you're preparing for the recruitments, and you think that I want to be a management consultant, there is actually not something massively different that you need to do. I have been recruiting for McKinsey for a number of years. I've also been recruiting for my subsequent jobs for a number of years. Now, if I go back to my McKinsey days, when we recruit, you're actually looking at some very simple traits. Is the person good at problem solving? And that's got nothing really to do with a marketing course or a finance course. Can you structure a problem, break down a problem, think logically? That's it. Does the person have a spike in something? You could be the topper in your class, great. You could be a fantastic badminton player, great. You could be, you could have had very poor CGPA, but you're a fantastic singer and you've done well in life. You sung on television and radio, whatever else. Okay. So typically the McKinsey, BCG kind of management consultants, they're looking for people who are very sharp in problem solving. They have a spike in something. It doesn't matter. It's not necessarily in studies. And you are in general presentable. Now, any of these things, you really don't need to do anything very differently. I think that is a misconception, including me. I also had when I was in campus on the other side. But that's what I would advise.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.